You ever find yourself looking at a landscape and just wondering, like, why is this spot covered in these huge, dense forests, while just over there you've got nothing but these tough little shrubs? Well, it turns out it's not random at all. There's this incredible force at work, basically writing a story right onto the land itself. And that force? It's climate. So today, we're going to decode what I like to call its green fingerprint.
Yeah, this is the big question, right? It's a puzzle you see pretty much every day, whether you're out on a long drive or, heck, just looking out your window. The answer, though, is actually pretty elegant. It all comes down to this kind of invisible architect that shapes everything we see. And that architect is the climate.
Okay, so before we can really connect the dots between climate and plants, we got to get our terms straight. Because let's be honest, a lot of us use the words weather and climate like they're the same thing. But they're not. They are totally different ideas, and, getting this right is kind of the first key to unlocking this whole puzzle.
And honestly, the difference is super simple once you see it like this. I love this breakdown. Weather is what you get. Climate is what you expect. Think about it. Weather is just a snapshot, right? It's what's happening on one specific day. But climate, that's the long game. It's the pattern over decades. It's the difference between a single photo and the whole photo album.
Here's a perfect example. It's very cold and windy outside this morning. See? That's weather. It's right now, it's specific, it's what you feel the second you open the door. It's that immediate snapshot of what the air is doing.
And this is climate. Cape Town usually experiences a rainy winter season. See that difference? That word usually is everything. It's not about today, it's about the predictable long-term pattern. It's the personality of a place, And it's that expectation that truly shapes the world around us.
All right, so how do we actually see a climate? Well, we look at data, lots of it. Specifically, temperature and rainfall collected over many, many years. But, raw data can be pretty boring. It's just a bunch of numbers. To really get it, you have to turn it into a story. So let's do that right now with a real South African city.
So let's take a look at Johannesburg. When you combine all that temperature and rainfall data over the years, you get a simple chart just like this one. And it tells you so much at a glance. You can instantly see the patterns, the warm, high rainfall summers versus the cool, low rainfall winters. It's like the city's climate heartbeat all laid out for us.
And boom, just like that, we've taken all that data and turned it into a simple story. Johannesburg has cool, dry winters and warm, wet summers. That's it. That's its climate signature. And it's this exact signature that acts like a rule book for what kind of plants can and can't grow there.
Okay, so we've got one half of the puzzle down, climate. Now let's look at the other half, the plants themselves. And I'm not talking about your backyard garden or a big farm. Nope, we're talking about something way more fundamental.
We're talking about natural vegetation. I love this idea. It's basically all the plants, trees, and grass that grow in a place totally on their own, with zero help from people. Think of it as what nature itself would plant if we just weren't here. It's the original green blueprint for an area. And here it is. This is the big connection. The type of wild, unplanted garden you find somewhere is a direct answer to its climate. The temperature, the rain, the seasons, all of it. It creates this strict set of rules. And the plants that live there, they're the ones that figured out how to follow those rules to survive. It's that simple and that profound.
Okay, so now for the really cool part. Let's actually connect the dots. We're going to look at a few totally different South African climates and see the amazing plants they produce. You're about to see that every single plant is basically a little masterpiece of adaptation.
All right, first up, a dry, warm climate. What do? You get succulents, like the famous aloe. And their survival strategy is genius. They don't just hope for rain, they become living water barrels. They store every single drop they can get inside those thick, fleshy leaves to get them through the long, dry spells. Okay, but what if the rain only comes in winter and the summers are super hot and dry? Well, in the southwestern Cape, that unique climate gives us fynbos, and this stuff is incredible. It's so tough and resilient, it's evolved to not just survive the summer heat and fires, but to actually need them to grow. How wild is that? Now, let's completely flip the script. Imagine a place that's warm and wet all year long. What happens? You get an explosion of growth, creating these incredible, dense forests like you see in Tsitsikamma. Here, the problem isn't finding water, it's everywhere. The real fight is for sunlight, so everything just grows tall and dense, racing to the top to get a piece of the sky. And for our last example, check this out.
What about a place with wet summers but really long dry winters? Well, that's the home of giants, like the amazing baobab tree. Its strategy is actually a lot like the succulents. It's all about storing water. But instead of using its leaves, it uses its enormous swollen trunk as a giant water tank to survive those months with no rain. Just incredible.
Okay, so we've seen the individual pieces. Now let's put it all together and look at one of South Africa's most famous landscapes, the savanna. This is where you can really see the whole story, from the climate to the plants to the animals, all playing out together in one amazing ecosystem.
So let's break it down. The savanna climate? It's those warm, wet summers and cold, dry winters we talked about. This is the perfect recipe for growing enormous seas of grass. And those dry winters, plus the frequent fires that sweep through, they stop too many trees from taking over. This landscape, dominated by grass, is why it's so good for farming things like maize and wheat. And of course, for creating those huge game parks that everyone knows. And of course, all that grass, what's also called the veld, supports a world-famous ecosystem. Those endless plains of grass feed huge herds of animals like giraffes and buffalo. And where you have herds like that, you're going to have the predators that hunt them, like lions and leopards. The entire food web, from the smallest bug to the biggest lion, is built on a foundation that was laid by the climate.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. A landscape is never random. When you look out at a field or a forest, you're not just seeing a jumble of plants. You are actually looking at the final page of a long, beautiful story written by the climate.
So I'll leave you with a question. The next time you're looking at a landscape, really look at it and ask yourself, are you just seeing plants? Or are you now reading the story of its climate?